Didion enjoys the status of a canonical writer, which is a point made by her biographer Tracy Doherty in The Last Love Song. Yet, the critical input concerning her works is surprisingly meager. Critics who write about Didion notice that Didion's critical reception still proves to be quite below par. This is particularly puzzling because Didion is acknowledged as America's and California's primary analyst. Eva Sabine Zehelein names Didion as America's highly personal, cultural, literary historian, and calls her reflection of the representation of California and the West incessant, which suggests the intensity of Didion's work and the challenges that it poses. H. Jennifer Brady makes a similar claim, stating, Didion's writings in particular demand an act of historical imagination on the part of the reader, an understanding of the mythic heritage of Points West. Didion emerges as a demanding writer, one who exerts a particular pressure on her readers. That, however, does not explain the lack of attention that her prose has suffered from. When Zehelein proposes that Didion's writing has been pigeonholed as merely another piece of new journalism, she is pointing in the right direction. Didion has been an acclaimed journalist, and her fiction might be the victim of being wrongly perceived as less serious. Invariably, all analyses of Joan Didion's work commence with an expression of astonishment at the state of criticism. Considering that Joan Didion is often deemed the backbone of literary life in California, bewilderment at the lack of critical interest is indeed understandable. My study aims to fill this critical gap while pointing to some of the problems Didion's representations of California entail. I see the vision of California in Joan Didion's prose as an anachronistic concept, reaching back to Turner's frontier thesis, which proclaimed that it was not the East Coast, but the frontier where American identity lay. This anachronism, not given attention in any of the critical writings devoted to Didion's prose, plays an important function of informing and organizing Didion's vision of Californian history and identity. Once we see that Didion's vision of California is anchored in 19th century ideals, we can recognize the main problem: its refusal to acknowledge the role played by agents of history other than white. The same problem surfaces from the first published volume to the last. In Slouching Towards Bethlehem, Didion's speaker pronounces, "I come from California, come from a family, or a congeries of families, that has always been in the Sacramento Valley." She obviously understands the problem inherent in her claim. Such a view of history casts a certain melancholia over those who participate in it. But at the same time, in this pronouncement, she claims California for herself, calling herself characteristically a native daughter. She speaks directly to the reader. If I could make you understand that, I could make you understand California. And something else besides. For Sacramento is California. And California is a place in which a boom mentality and a sense of Chekhovian loss meet in uneasy suspension, in which the mind is troubled by some buried but ineradicable suspicion that things had better work here, because here, beneath that immense bleached sky, is where we run out of continent. A Turnerian vision to the core. Didion's California starts and ends with the first white settlers. From Didion's prose one gathers that Native Americans or Mexicans never exerted any influence on the state's history or its character. Neither do the various groups, Asian Americans, Chicanos, influence California's present. The list of Didion's exclusion is long. This omission, I argue, is at the center of Didion's prose, and it animates her narratives, remaining an unstated premise. It is what Didion's prose does not say that is central to the vision of California it promotes. For Didion, it is the loss of her California, her moving to the East Coast, but also the loss of what California used to be and what it used to stand for that enables her to solidify her position as the speaker for California. Yet while she expresses her vision of California's history and identity, she avoids addressing the question of their multiracial and multi-ethnic character with an outstanding effort. The writer of Didion's skill cannot be dismissed as not realizing this omission. In fact, she suggests that it is a problem which can be explained by memory. Memory, that imperfect, failing faculty, serves as a unifying function when she states, for example, that there is in Los Angeles no memory everyone shares, no monument everyone knows, no historical reference as meaningful as the long sweep of the ramps where the San Diego and Santa Monica freeways intersect. A sentiment which echoes her words from 30 years before. The future always looks good in the Golden Land because no one remembers the past. Memory becomes an attribute of the land itself, and historical references lose meaning as the structures of motorways gain it and become the only secular communion Los Angeles has. Dependence on personal memory creates an ideal that cannot, by definition, be the basis of a shared sense of identity. A corresponding description of the more ideal California as that which existed at whatever past point the speaker first saw it, deems it a hologram that dematerializes as I drive through it. Thus, this personal ideal, imagined through reminiscence and a willed projection of some unattainable past, becomes in Didion's prose the shared communal reference point, necessarily flawed and alienating. For all its omissions and willful forgetting, Didion's prose represents a certain ideal, as it correctly recognizes the power of the myth that California is. Didion manages to describe California in all its ambiguity and conflicted beauty.